when the oceans turned red, the day life. Nearly drowned, long before the first dinosaurs walked upon the land, long before the human mind ever dreamed of time, there was only the ocean, a blue, endless expanse stretching farther than sight. Beneath its shimmering skin, coral cities bloomed in radiant silence. Forests of sponges and anemones swayed in slow unison, their colors glowing like stained glass under the surface. Fish of impossible design, armor-plated and luminous, drifted through these underwater cathedrals, carried by warm, oxygen-rich currents that kissed every corner of the world. It was the height of harmony. The great Permian seas, a cradle for all life, thrived in delicate balance. But the earth has never been still. Deep beneath those peaceful waves, something ancient stirred, a change so vast, so quiet at first, that not even the oceans themselves could sense their own undoing. It began with warmth, just a few degrees, barely enough to notice, yet in the vast machinery of life, even the smallest shift can tilt the balance. The seas grew heavy, their oxygen thinning. Beneath the calm surface, bacteria awoke, ancient, hungry, relentless. They feasted on the decaying matter in the depths, multiplying beyond measure, breathing out toxins and clouds of sulfur. The blue turned murky, then green, and finally, red, a color that meant death. It spread like a slow fire through every current. Coral began to bleach and crumble. Fish, once glittering like jewels, floated lifeless in crimson tides. There were no predators, no war, only suffocation. The water itself became the enemy. In a world that once breathed through the sea, the very act of breathing had become impossible. Down in the abyss, where sunlight had never touched, the last strongholds of life began to fade. Trilobites, the armored survivors of hundreds of millions of years, succumbed, their bodies piling on the seafloor like fallen leaves. The coral reefs collapsed, entire ecosystems falling in silence. Creatures of every form, the slow grazers, the swift hunters, the drifting plankton, all bound by a single fate. The deep ocean, once a realm of mystery and lightless beauty, became a tomb. Above them, volcanoes wept rivers of ash and fire, pouring their molten blood into the sea. The oceans boiled, then cooled into toxic stillness. The earth groaned, and for a time, the planet itself seemed to hold its breath. More than 90% of marine life vanished. The Permian extinction had begun, and the ocean, the mother of all life, was drowning in her own womb. Above the poisoned waters, the land tore itself apart. Supervolcanoes, vast beyond comprehension, split the continents in fire and smoke. Pillars of ash rose higher than mountains, blotting out the sun and shrouding the world in twilight. Rain turned to acid, rivers burned. For years, then centuries, the earth raged without rest. Carbon choked the sky, trapping heat like a suffocating blanket. The seas absorbed that heat until the very chemistry of life unraveled. The ocean, once the planet's cooling heart, became a cauldron of death. Beneath its surface, methane erupted from the seafloor in boiling clouds, igniting into firestorms that rolled across the waves. The surface shimmered with oil, and the sky glowed orange like the inside of a furnace. Yet, even in this inferno, some forms of life endured. Microscopic survivors that thrived in poison, breathing where nothing else could. They did not merely survive. They adapted. They waited. They evolved. When the fire faded, there was only quiet. The world was empty. Oceans still, skies gray, continents barren. Millions of years of chaos had left behind a scarred and quiet earth. The sea, once alive with song, now moved like a ghost. The water carried memories of what had been told in whispers of coral gardens, the hum of unseen life. But beneath that silence, change was already stirring. Tiny survivors, duller microbes, algae, the architects of rebirth, began to reclaim the water molecule by molecule. Each breath they exhaled brought a trace of oxygen back to the sea. Each generation carried the memory of extinction, but also the seed of renewal. From their persistence, evolution would one day rise again. The silence was not an ending, awans, but a deep inhale before creation's next breath. Millions of years later, the world awoke once more. The oceans, washed clean by time and pressure, began to sparkle again under the sun. Coral slowly returned, fragile but determined. Tiny organisms, invisible to the naked eye, rebuilt what was lost. From the ashes of the Permian, a new chapter of life began. It would take ages for the world to heal, but it did. The silence gave way to song again. The whisper of tides, the rhythm of breathing oceans, the first notes of evolution's next symphony. Out of death came renewal. Out of fire came balance. The ocean had turned red, and for a moment, all life seemed lost. But even extinction cannot erase the will to live. As you drift into sleep tonight, remember the lesson whispered by the waves. Every end is only the beginning in disguise. The sea remembers, the earth endures, and in its endless rhythm, so do we. Time rolls forward, carrying the memories of past chaos, yet renewed with potential. Each wave, touching distant shores, speaks of resilience. The ancient scars of the earth remain, reminders of what was lost, yet they form the framework upon which new wonders stand. In every drop of seawater, in every grain of sand, life teems with vibrant defiance, a testament to the enduring spirit that cannot be quenched. Under the sunlit waves, schools of vibrant fish once again turn the sea into a tapestry of colors, dancing to the music of the currents. This is a new world, yet one familiar at its heart. The tides, forever rhythmic, continue their eternal dance. With each dawn, the promise of life renewed gives birth to countless stories waiting to be told. And so, the journey continues. With every turn of the tide, life whispers tales of survival, innovation, and hope. In the tapestry of time, each thread of life adds color to the grand design. From simplicity to complexity, life braids its legacy across the ages. Every creature, every plant, part of an orchestra that sings of survival. Its notes, carried by the wind, echo through the canyons and ride the waves. In the quiet solitude of twilight, when the sunset paints the sky in hues of dreams, we see the promise of the living earth whisper through the rustling leaves and flowing waters. A single drop of rain falls, splashing into the ocean and spreading ripples that intertwine, a symphony of interconnection. In every heartbeat of this world, in every breath drawn deeply from the ancient cradle of the sea, we are reminded of the delicate balance upon which life perches. As the moon ascends, casting its gentle glow over the world, it listens to the stories written in the stars and the waves. These stories, shaped by the chisel of time, tell of resilience unmatched, of a world that found strength within its valleys to rise anew. Every living being, in its own time and place, speaks a promise to the cosmos, to thrive, to survive, to be the testament to life unyielding. So let our own hearts be attuned to this eternal melody. Let our own hands work in harmony with this cherished globe. For as long as we heed the wisdom of the earth, its song will guide our journey into the endless tapestry of time.